Good afternoon for all. I am Dr. Amal Amin, Associate Professor at National Research Center, Egypt, founder and chair of Women in Science Without Borders Initiative, WISWAP. It's my great pleasure to have you all here and welcome you all here to our fifth multidisciplinary international webinar of the series of Saturday Science webinars. It's the last one in 2020 with the theme today of Inspire Me Success Story. The webinar is international and organized by Women in Science Without Borders Initiative, which was founded in 2017 as Global Forum for Males and Females, distributed in 60 countries now with the slogan of Science for Sustainable Development to serve society with science, connect people worldwide with science, make science available for all, and facilitate multidisciplinary cooperation across borders. We will have live stream on Facebook on Women in Science Without Borders Initiative page and our YouTube channel. If you have questions, you may leave it in Q&A part or in a comment. Today, it's my pleasure and honor to host three distinguished speakers, friends as well, esteemed guests, and successful women scientists, where their talks will be in the following order. Professor Rana Dajani from Jordan, Professor Dr. Hasna Shinnawi from Morocco, Professor Alia Abu Kiwan from Germany, but she is originally Alia, right?
لا هو انا مش بروفيسور لسه انا ما صرت بروفيسور دكتور
yeah it's good wish
yeah
first I will give each speaker the chance to give short talk for 20 to 25 minutes. After short introduction, then we will start answering questions and discussions. Discussions here are available between you and audience and between yourself, between Dr. Hasna, Dr. Rana, and Dr. Ali, if you want. Since our session is about success stories of our guests, I will give a very brief introduction about each one of you to leave the space for you to tell us your success story. At first, it's my pleasure to introduce the first speaker, Professor Dr. Rana Dajani. Professor Dr. Rana Dajani, I met her in 2014 in Sudan, but really we became good friends from that time. Professor Rana is a professor at Hashemia University in Jordan and currently a fellow at the Jackson School of Leadership at the University of Richmond, USA. She is the founder and famous global educational program, We Love Reading. She is founder of the mentorship program, Three Circles of Alimat. She is recipient of many national and international awards. She is member of many international and national organizations. She is prominent scientist, good mother for 4 kids, leader and social entrepreneur. She is also the author of the book 5 Scarves, Doing the Impossible. If we can reverse fate, why can't we redefine success? The book was published in 2018. Her lecture will be on re-emerging success, doing the impossible. You may start, Professor Rana, for 25 minutes.
Thank you very much for the invitation. Thank you very much for the invitation. I'm very happy to be here with you, celebrating the end of the year of 2020, and what a year! What a roller coaster of events, and we are making history. We're living history. Thank you for this honor, and I'm going to start my screen so that we can begin. Yes, and I'm very proud to be among scientists on this panel and around the world. And I'll be sharing my story. And I always like to imagine that in the past, there were two groups of people who sat around a fire, a group of people who sat around a fire and told stories, and another group that frowned on those who told stories and said, who do you think you are? You're wasting your time. But it's actually the storytellers that survived, because storytelling is essential to our survival. So in the spirit of evolution and storytelling, I'm going to share a few of my stories with you. And I look forward to hearing your questions, most importantly, your critiques, because that's how we grow and learn, when we critique each other in a positive way so that we can learn from each other. So I'm here to learn as much as everybody else. So let's start the journey. First of all, I grew up in a family of 8 girls, and we did not have a TV. We spent all our time reading books and role playing, and that was very important in making who I am today, and celebrating the importance of reading and reading for fun, and that's what made me curious and wanting to become an explorer and a discoverer. And this is part of also my value system that I come from. I'm a Muslim and I come from the Arab region. And to me, the values that were instilled in me from my Islamic heritage is about asking questions and being curious and following your dreams and supporting the community and being an active member of society to make a difference. So as any person growing up wanting to be a scientist, I entered the university and multiple paths were open to me. And one of them was being a physician. And in our part of the world, and I'm sure many parts of the world, if you're the eldest, your father's a physician, ultimately it's presumed that you want to be a physician as well. And you think you do. But then I realized that I don't want to be a physician because I was scared to make a mistake and kill somebody by accident. And I thought, you know what, if I'm a scientist, I can, and a mouse, something happens to a mouse, I can deal with that. So, and I thought, if I'm a scientist, I can still help humanity and be the discoverer and explorer that I dreamed about when I was growing up. And because I'll be finding the solutions for all these diseases. And so I studied biology. And because I love biology, it wasn't really work, it was fun. And to this day, what I'm doing is I have fun every day. I don't work because I'm doing what I love. And when you do what you love, you actually raise the quality of that field because you're doing it out of a passion, out of something that you believe in. It's a job that you cross out. However, I did not have the chance to become a scientist because there were no PhD programs in Jordan. I sent letters, this was back in the 90s. I got accepted at Cambridge University, but I didn't have the finances to go there. And I'm sure many of you have suffered similar situations. So I got married and had 4 kids. And so that was, to me, the first role when I present myself is that I'm a mother of 4. And to me, being a mother is one of the most important roles that I can play in my lifetime because nobody can substitute me as a mom. I can be substituted for any other role that I play. And so we need to celebrate and be proud of our roles of producing the next generation. Now, as any graduate from science, if you're not a scientist and a researcher, you become a school teacher. So I became a school teacher for 10 years. And to me, that's the second most important role that any human being can play to bring up the next generation is because half the children's time are at home with their parents and the other half are at school with their teacher. So my hat off to all teachers for the important role that they play in raising the next generation. Now, yet that dream stayed with me that I want to be a scientist. And so 10 years later, at the age of 30, I saw an ad in the newspaper for a Fulbright scholarship to do my PhD. And I applied and I went to the US with my husband and children and got the training and got my PhD to become a molecular biologist. And this is a picture of my family. To them, they were involved in all my research at every minute of the day. And most importantly, my husband was my support for me to get my PhD. So the spouse or the partner you choose is very important to help enable you to succeed in your dreams. And so he was actually a lieutenant colonel in the Air Force and resigned so that I could fulfill my dream and get my PhD. Ultimately, we went back to Jordan. I set up my lab at the Hashemite University in Jordan and started my third role in life, which is being the scientist. So I'm briefly going to share with you the 2 fields where I'm an expert in my field, so you can get a sense of how somebody can do international world-class science, even if you come from a developing country like Jordan. And to me, the ultimate question is, to do that is finding the right question. And if you find the right question, spend enough time in exploring that question, you will set yourself up for life. And so to me, the question that I started pursuing is, what can I do in Jordan that nobody else can do around the world, right? What is that wild card? And that's when I realized that in Jordan, we have 2 ethnic populations that nobody had ever studied, which are the Circassians and the Chechens, who had immigrated from southern Russia down to the Levant area. And nobody had studied them. And the Human Genome Project had just came out. This was in the HapMap project, which shows the differences between populations, had just come out in 2006. So it was prime time for me to ask my question of what is unique about these 2 populations. And if I study them, I'll be contributing to world-class science. So what we did is we started analyzing them from every aspect of this, of both societies. We looked at anthropology, we looked at epidemiology, and we actually focused on diabetes because it's a global epidemic. Everybody suffers from diabetes, and it's not a stigma because, again, it has become an everyday thing. And we also now looked at the genes of these two populations, trying to identify novel gene risk factors that made these communities either more susceptible or less susceptible to developing diabetes. And we actually discovered a new gene for diabetes, which we are now looking at the protein function of that gene to try to understand how diabetes develops in these populations. But we didn't stop there. Actually, our research took us further in studying the genetics of these two populations. And we started looking at pharmacogenomics, because now the whole world is moving towards personalized medicine. And because most of the data for personalized medicine comes from European populations, we need input from other ethnic to enrich the database so that we could develop better medications and better therapies for people going forward. And I'm sure this rings a bell for many of you, COVID-19 now showing how the differences between people is responsible for different reactions to the virus, and hence the different ways we deal with therapy for the patients. From Harvard wanting to partner with us to use our DNA database so that they could enrich their own research. This was a true ancient human migration happened between Europe and Asia, and this was published in Nature. And to me, any scientist, their dream is to publish in Nature. And we were able to publish in Nature because of work we did in Jordan, not because we went to a lab somewhere else and worked in somebody else's lab. So we can do it where there is a will, there is a way, but it's about asking the right question. Now, and to me, this also led us that our role as scientists goes beyond our lab. So working with stem cells to understand that gene that we discovered made us need to work with stem cells. And to me, coming from Muslim heritage, I had to ask the question, can I work with stem cells? And so since there were no laws around, I had to create a group of people, both scientists, physicians, theologians, lawmakers, to actually create the laws and regulations that would govern using stem cells for research and for therapy. And so we produced the first stem cell law in not just the Arab world, but the Islamic world. Now, science is seeing what everybody sees, but thinking what no one has thought. And so again, back to being curious and asking questions, the Syrian crisis happened in 2011, and Syrian refugees, although I don't like to call them refugees, fled into Jordan. They're our family, they're our friends. I'm half Syrian myself and half Palestinian. And so this got me thinking, over 60% of the children are actually, Syrian refugees are actually under the age of 18. And so I wanted to ask another question. What is the impact of trauma, of war and displacement on these children? And so in collaboration with Yale University, we were able to ask the question, not just of what is the mental status of these kids, but what is their biophysiology. So we were looking at biomarkers of stress like cortisol in the hair. And we were able to show that certain programs could actually reduce cortisol, meaning reduce stress in these kids, therefore helping them going forward. And this led us to ask another question. You know, the good question results, when you answer it, you come up with 10 more questions. And so we were able then, now we're actually working on research looking at the question of, does the trauma impact DNA? And if it does, can that be transferred across generations? And so part of this work, looking at not just the negative impact of trauma, but the positive impact, meaning can people, when they cope with the trauma, does this build their resilience and not just increase their stress? And so we developed a whole new survey about resilience, which was, there was a whole special issue in Science, which is the second most important journal in science that scientists want to publish in, that showcased our work on resilience among Syrian refugees. And our ongoing epigenetics we just got a National Science Foundation grant to do that analysis, looking at grandmothers, daughters, and granddaughters, trying to understand how that signature is transferred and what can we do to resolve or reduce the stress on the grandchildren for the future. My daughter calls this the immortal kiss of our grandparents. So of course, working as a woman scientist, I realized that women scientists face a lot of challenges. And again, stepping up and being the change I want to see in the world, I started a mentoring program called the 3 Circles of Alimat. Alimat means scientist in Arabic. So we have a history of science in the Arab world. And actually the first university in the world was created by a woman called Fatima al-Fihri in Morocco, which one of our speakers is from Morocco and will tell us probably more about that. So this is a mentoring program that's freely available online that anybody can use. And it's for men and women. As Amal pointed out, we need to work together. Nobody can work alone. And I invite you to use it in your everyday life. And also, my fourth scarf, or the fourth role I play, is again realizing that I need to use my skills and expertise to serve my wider community. And this comes not just from my heritage, feeling responsible, but even as a human being. You know, that if we have knowledge and expertise, we need to share it with others. And so I realized that children don't read for fun. And reading for fun is very important because it not just widens the imagination, but it gives the child words, vocabulary to express themselves, and allows them to learn about others and therefore fosters empathy. But more importantly, when children read about others, they gain the courage and the confidence to be the heroes they read about and become change makers themselves. And so again, as a scientist and being curious, I wanted to know, why don't children read for fun? And I realized it's because they don't love it. And so my question then became, how do I help children fall in love with reading? And I realized the way to do it is by having role models, meaning the parents reading aloud to the children. And why was this important? Because as the neurons are developing in the early childhood, there becomes an association between the feeling of love, comfort, and safety with reading that stays with you as an adult. So when you're happy, you want to read. When you're sad, you want to read. And so from this thesis, I created a program called We Love Reading, which it's about changing mindsets through reading to create change makers. And what we do is we train adults and youth from age 16 to 100 years old how to read aloud for fun, and how to hold read aloud sessions on a regular basis in your native tongue, because that's how you boost identity, in a public space. And this boosts the identity of the person who's reading aloud. We call them the We Love Reading ambassadors. And they themselves become change makers in their own right and leaders, creating change. And so we've spread now to 60 countries. This needs to be updated. And these are some statistics where we are. And we're very proud that something small started in Jordan is now spreading like a social movement all over the world. And because I'm a scientist, I had to invite scientists to come and study the impact of the program to make it better and to understand how it works. And so, and to me, I'm a molecular biologist. This is not my field, but I stepped out of my comfort zone, inviting others and learning from them how we can assess this program. So we're always learning every minute of our lives. It never stops. So we have Professor Amso from Columbia University, who studied the impact of the program on executive functions like working memory, inhibitory control, and others, and showed that the program improved them all. And more importantly, for children who come from lower socioeconomic status. We also worked with the University of Chicago, John DeCiti, and showed that the impact of the program doubled empathy in children, which is important for building better relationships going forward in their lives. And we also developed children's books about the environment. And we showed that just by reading books through this program, we could change the attitudes and behaviors of children towards environment, which is very important today because of global change. And this was done with local universities in Jordan. And we created a whole set of children's books, because if you're going to change children, you have to start early. So it's reading aloud and having a rich literature. So we've created books about the environment, about empathy, disabilities, gender, peace and nonviolence, and refugees, that are available on our website for those who are interested. And New York Times wrote about us, and we've won multiple awards, which you can find online, which we're very proud of going forward. Now, my last role that I play is I'm a human being, and I always want to support human rights, and especially those who are oppressed and who are treated unjustly. And in this particular case, I'm talking about women around the world. And when we talk about women, we're always complaining of less women in the workplace. And people try to explain this by that women are less educated, especially in the STEM field. However, to me, and we see this graph that always comes out from L'Oreal showing the discrepancy between males and females in the STEM fields across academia. However, teaching in the Arab world, and I'm sure many of you can agree, in the eastern part of the world, that no, we have over 60 and 70% of girls in STEM, in not just at school, but in bachelor's degree and a master's degree, and even a PhD degree. So the red line indicates actually the percentages of women in STEM in my part of the world. So the lack of education does not explain lower numbers in the workplace. There's something else to this. And so the second hypothesis is that the workplace is not friendly for women. And yes, that is true, and companies need to work more to provide maternal time off, equal pay, nursing time, or a place to nurse your baby. But still, that's not enough. It hasn't changed, it hasn't turned the needle to get more women into the workplace. And so here comes my hypothesis, right? That it's not about education, it's not about the workplace. It's actually that humans are diverse. We don't all need the same thing, yet we all follow the same definition of success. And I want to challenge that, just like Yamanaka challenged, turning an adult stem cell into, an adult epithelial cells back into a stem cell was considered impossible or crazy. I want to say, why can't we redefine success, right? And instead of success being the simple framework of, how much money you get and how senior you are, which was actually, by the way, developed by men, for men initially, and we tried to fit ourselves. And we agreed to be measured with the same stick, just like this cartoon showing that you're only successful if you can climb a tree. What about if I'm a fish? I can't climb a tree, but I'm successful in another environment, right? So I want to challenge the framework of the workplace, the framework of how we define success, and say we want the freedom as women, or even minority groups around the world, to create our own definition of success, right? And not to be imposed on us by men, by society, or by the workplace. And maybe we will have not just one framework of success, but a kaleidoscope of different ways of defining success that's as rich as we are diverse as a human species. And we can change our mind as well. If I define success at 20, it could change when I'm 30, it could change when I'm 40, it could change when I'm 50. And this shows an MIT study where the men plateaued at 40, the red line, but the women kept going up and zigzagging in and out above 40. So there should be no age limit on when we succeed, because as women, our lives may take different turns and our priorities may change across our lifetime. And so how do we actually go home and do something about this? I mean, this is nice, but I'm the one who likes to go home having a roadmap of what to do. So the first thing I advise is read to enrich your knowledge and experience. Second, know yourself. Identify your passion and your identity so you can set your priorities and be firm on what you think is right, and then society will respect that. And then be creative and innovative, and don't be afraid to jump out and say what you want and who you are. And be an entrepreneur. I mean, today there's not enough jobs to go around. That's why you have to create your own job, right? And with the internet's at your fingertips, and you can do anything you want. And when you are happy, everybody around you becomes happy. And that way we can all succeed. So I'm going to conclude here saying that everybody is unique. Nobody's DNA is like anybody else for in the past, today, or in the future. Even identical twins are a little bit different because of epigenetics. And so go out there and make a difference. And if somebody tells you, who do you think you are? You're just a drop of water. Tell them, but what is the ocean but millions of drops? So trust yourself and be confident and dream big. Nothing is impossible. And write your story. We need to hear about you. Actually, not just us. We owe it, not just to ourselves, but to the next generation, to know who we are, to read from our own pen, from our own words. And just so that I don't preach what I don't do, I wrote my book, The 5 Scarves. It's in Arabic and it's in English. You can look it up online. And please email me what you think, because I'm writing a sequel to it. So you may be in my next book as well. And it's all the butterfly effect. When a butterfly flutters its wings in China, it moves the wind a little bit, 1 centimeter. There's a hurricane in the Atlantic, and it'll be the butterfly. Thank you very much. And later we'll have questions, and you can email me if you don't get enough time to pose those questions.
Hello. Thanks, Rana.
Thank you.
Thanks, Rana, for this nice talk. I also, you know that I always like your 5 scars. It's about audience. You will wait the questions, but I always like your 5 scarves. Maybe I have the same, and every woman in the science have the same 5 scarves. Also, I like your work in We Love Reading as a social and educational program. It's very nice, really, and I'm happy that it's spreading all over the world, because it's very good, really. Sometimes not only environment, with respect to women in science, I'm working now for 4 years with women in science. Sometimes it's not only the case of environment, but sometimes it's the defective from women themselves. You understand me? The women themselves don't ask for their rights, for their normal rights. Sometimes they don't want to make successful networks or something like that. That's why we have still problems, because in Egypt, as example, we have good laws, but we still have problems of women in science. Why? Because we have no successful networks. We need more cooperation with the environment. We need more cooperation with the other side, with the industry. We need the projects. We need something like that. Okay, we will leave discussions to the end. And now, speaker, Professor Hasna Isber. We will leave questions to the end and discussions to the end. Now it's my pleasure to introduce second speaker, Professor Dr. Hasna Shinawi. Professor Hasna is a professor at University of King Hassan II in Morocco. She is Moroccan scientist in the field of meteorites and planetary sciences. She is the first woman to be graduated in the field of meteorites in Morocco and in the Arab world and in African countries as well. In April 2019, she created a Tariq Foundation for Meteorites and the Planetary Sciences, which is an NGO dedicated to the promotion of planetary sciences. Tariq supports education through public and private institutions and cooperation among teachers, students, and citizens in Morocco and in the Arab world and Africa to develop understanding of meteorites, astronomy, and the planetary sciences, promote sustainable development, and preserve the geo-heritage of this region. She is a recipient also for many national and international awards. Her lecture will be on Moroccan women, geologist, and the planetary science journey. You may start, Professor Hasna, for 25 minutes.
Thank you so much, Dr. Amal, for the invitation. It's a great pleasure to be with you today and to have the opportunity to share a part of my passion. As Professor Anna said, we are working with a lot of love, having fun, and a lot of passion. And this is something that I think that it's very important to make successful work. I will share now my screen with you. Okay. Okay, so sorry. So for 20 or 25 minutes, I've tried to share with you a journey as a woman, geologist and planetary scientist. Actually, I'm a woman, I'm Muslim, I'm Moroccan, and I grew in Morocco. I will begin by explaining what is a geologist. What is a geologist work? A geologist is someone that is working mostly in the field, also in the lab, but in the field first. And we have many field work. This one is with one of my PhD students that is now in a postdoc in US. When you say field, you mean that means that you go out of the lab, and it may be very far, and you may sleep in outside in difficult conditions, and for our work on meteorites is mostly in Sahara, so not very pleasant places, but so this is what we are doing for in geology and in planetary science and for meteoritics. This is what the field work for one of my PhD students, Maria Abulharis. And so as you see here, this is field work for one of the latest meteorite falls in Morocco, and I have the privilege to be accompanied by my husband that is part of my journey. He's geologist, and I will talk about him later. But you see, all places where we go is mostly with a lot of men. And this is one picture of one other fall, Moroccan meteorite fall that occurred in 2017, and it's very far in the south of Morocco. And it's when we go to the field, there are many men and many even child. So how I became geologist? So I grew in a very modest family in Casablanca. I born in Casablanca, in Morocco, and I grew in a modest family. And I had the privilege to grow with a lot of love. We were 4 children, and my dad was a self-educated guy, and my mom was a director of a primary school. And there was a lot of love between them, and I grew in this love, and there was no difference in our education between my brothers and we girls. So we have the privilege to be in the same behavior for my parents. And we celebrated a lot of things. And here you see, I was with a lot of good, in a public school with a lot of very nice girls, and all of those now are doctors or engineers, etc. And then I went, after my baccalaureate, I went to the Hassan II University Faculty of Science, and I prepared a bachelor on geology and earth science. And actually, it was not very acceptable by in our society that a woman or a girl do geology because of the field work, etc. But my parents were very supportive and were saying, okay, you want to do this, so we trust on you, and go ahead and go follow what you want and what you love and what you want to do. So those are pictures of my different years of bachelor. After my bachelor, I got my bachelor 1986, and then I went to Paris to do a DEA. This is one of fieldwork also in Etna, in Etna Volcano. And I prepared my DEA in Paris. And after the DEA, actually after the DEA, I prepared the PhD. When I was in Paris, I didn't have a scholarship, so I had to work. The life is very expensive in Paris, and I had to pay my my room. I have to pay my meals, etc. So I have to work. So every day I went to a primary school where I was taking care of children. And every day I had to leave the lab at 3:30, and I was back to the lab at 7:30. And it was like this for 5 years. And so even it was very difficult, but it was, I learned a lot by this moment. And as you say here, those are not my children, but I learned a lot of things on this work to have money to pay things in Paris. And I have the great privilege to be to have a very nice and inspiring mentor, my director, my PhD director, Professor Albert Jambon, and my co-supervisor, Professor Bernard Marty. They were very, very supportive. And on this time, I prepared my first PhD of the Pierre and Marie Curie University on noble gases geochemistry. It was the first lab in France to introduce this new topic in France, working on noble gases geochemistry. And so it was very new for me, because it's something that I didn't learn in Morocco, but I did it and I learned a lot. And after my PhD, 1992, I was back to Casablanca, Morocco, and I went back with my husband. I met my husband in Paris, and we married there. And then when I was back to Morocco, I got my position at the university, and I also have the mom work. I have 3 children. I have 2 daughters and a son. Now they are old, and during this journey, when I became professor at the Hassan II University of Casablanca, it was I couldn't work on the noble gases geochemistry that I was that I prepared my first PhD. So I decided to move to another topic. And when I talked to my supervisor, he says, "Oh, okay, you know, now the lab is moving to working on meteorites, and there are plenty of meteorites in Morocco, and you have your position there. You can work on this topic now in your home country, because there are many meteorites coming from there." And it was on 2000. And since there, I began preparing a second PhD, a thèse d'état, in a different topic, and it was about meteorites. It was about Martian meteorites precisely, and I developed a new methodology of recognizing high pressure phases in Martian meteorites. And so I had many publications on this topic, and one of the publications, we have the cover of our prestigious magazine, Meteoritics and Planetary Science. So I worked for 7 years for this second PhD, and I got it in 2007. And it was in Casablanca, Morocco. And after this, and during this preparation, I began working on this topic, and knowing that there are so many meteorites in Morocco that have, it's a geoheritage that have to be protected and that have to be preserved and promoted. And so I began working inside of our society, our scientific society, the Meteoritical Society. I became a member of the nomenclature committee. It's the committee that is formed by 12 experts in the world, and that is working on the validation and acceptance of all meteorites submitted in all over the world. And in the same time, I built the methodology of working on meteorites in Morocco by creating networks, by supervising PhD students, by organizing a lot of meetings. This one was the first important one. It was the Desert Meteorite Workshop that was organized in 2006 and was very successful. And we organized also the Arab Impact Crater in Astrogeology Conference. The first one was in Jordan, and it was very successful. And the second one was in Casablanca, Morocco. And then we also organized the 2014 Meteoritical Society meeting that was on the first time organized in Arab and Muslim country, and it was very successful. We had more than 420 participants, and I would say that it's half of the meteoritics scientists in the world, so it was very important. And I got the privilege to be elected fellow of the Meteoritical Society in 2017. Of course, I had many distinctions, but this is not the most important thing of the journey. The most important thing of the journey is that I established in Morocco a group of working, because since 2007 I have many PhD students. Now there are 5 PhD that have already been defended and 7 that are en cours. And so I worked on the academic formation by introducing cosmochemistry courses in the universities, in all universities in Morocco, and many students working, PhD, publications, etc. And all this was to promote meteoritics in Morocco. And I also worked on the creation of this foundation, At-Tariq Foundation, that is dedicated to the promotion of meteoritics and planetary science in Morocco. We are doing a lot of things in At-Tariq because we want, as you see, we give lectures and exhibitions of meteorites for children and for youth and public lectures, etc. We also built the first network of observatory of variable detection in Morocco, and with the many cameras that we have now. And I will just speak very quickly about meteorites. What is a meteorite? Meteorites are rocks. They are extraterrestrial rocks. We differentiate between falls and finds. Falls are meteorites that we see when they are coming to Earth, and finds are all other meteorites that are collected on the surface of the Earth. And so they are coming from the asteroid belt, from Mars, from the moon or comets, and we give names to those rocks when they are out. They are coming, if they are coming from asteroid. When they are out of the Earth atmosphere, they are called meteoroid. When they are in the Earth atmosphere, it's meteors, and when they hit the Earth, they become meteorites. We classify the meteorites. There are many classes, and some of them are very primitive and are very important to know about the origin of the Earth and planetary and planets. And we have many others that are similar to the internal part of the Earth, and they are very important to be studied. So there are many ways to recognize meteorites by macroscopic and microscopic way, and also geochemical way. So this is how it works. When you find the meteorites, you have to analyze it, and then to classify it, and to give a sample to a lab that is well recognized, to submit it to the nomenclature committee of the Meteoritical Society, and then it is published in the Meteoritical Bulletin. And when it's published in the Meteoritical Bulletin, it's become official. Among the very important meteorites that fell in Morocco was one Martian meteorite that fell on 2011. And it was absolutely fantastic because it's Martian meteorites, and we did wonderful work on this meteorite that allow me to have a paper published in Science as a first author. And we could prove in this paper that during the launching of this meteorite from the surface of Mars, Mars was contained fluids. There was water. This meteorite is still the surface of Mars. And we also, in these meteorites, there was a new mineral that has been discovered and that got the name of tisintite. And this, I should say that one of the most important things that I was establishing is that I wanted to give to the meteorites coming from Morocco a Moroccan name, because it's at least the minimum recognition that we can give them. Even we are doing a lot of work in Morocco, and as Rana says, it's science developed not outside. It's science developed inside Morocco, of course, with partnership with many labs in US, in Germany, in France, in all over the world. But this science is developed in Morocco, and PhD students are working in Morocco, and we have a lot of students going on Erasmus, on Fulbright, etc. But the main work is done in Morocco, and all those meteorites get Moroccan names. So this is what we do usually when we have a fall in Morocco, the meteorite fall. We go quickly to have ordre de mission, to go to the field and go searching for information and looking for the maximum of information about the fall to make it the more the best description of the fall, because we have to document them, because it's a part of the knowledge for those meteorites. And so with this work for about 20 years, we have covered many meteoritics topics, and we could work on most falls that occurred in Morocco since 2004, and we have this map is showing what all meteorite falls, only falls. I didn't show here the finds because we have thousands and thousands. We have now more than 10,000 meteorites collected in Morocco, but falls are now here. And all those, it's our group that was working on this. So it's with the very limited techniques that we have and the very limited funds that we have in Morocco. So just a few words about At-Tariq Foundation. So this is the future for me. The future is to have those PhD students working and preparing the PhD, and in the same time spreading the knowledge and the science, because we are working on something that that allow us to promote science in general. When you talk to children of 4 years about meteorites, about the moon, etc., you open their mind to the science in general. When a children is touching an extraterrestrial rocks, you change his life or her life for the whole future. And all my PhD students are aware about this, and we are so proud about this. So I will just finish like Professor Rana says, by saying trust on your capacities and follow your passion and have positive attitude. And I would say choose a supportive partner, because actually it's very important to have someone that is helping you on your journey, because it's a part of the success. And I hope that it was clear. Thank you so much for your generous listening. If you have questions, I'm ready to answer them. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Hasna, for this nice talk and nice message at the end that you have to choose a nice partner and a suitable partner to help you to resume the way. Thanks a lot. We will resume our discussions at the end because I have lots of questions for you and Professor Rana, but at the end. Okay. We will now transfer to the third speaker, Dr. Alia Abu Kiwan. Dr. Alia is a research scientist and project leader at the University Hospital of Heidelberg. She got her PhD in molecular biology from the University of Heidelberg. Her research integrates the areas of health outcomes and survivorship. She has great science-based social activities, including increasing public awareness with respect to the scientific critical issues, where she has very active Facebook page and the website as well, where she always tries to simplify scientific facts for the public. Also, she published a simplified book on virus. Also, I am a big fan for her page. Usually, I follow her page, especially for because I share your explanation.
Yeah, thank you.
Her lecture will be on publications, pancakes, and the tiny switch of being a scientist mother. Go ahead, Professor, or Doctor. You don't like
Doctor. Yes, thank you, Amal. Thank you, Professor Amal, for your invitation. I'm happy to be here to share my tiny story. So if I compare my
okay.
Yes. So I will share. Allow me to share my screen. Where is it? Okay. I didn't saw it on the page. Now, yes. Okay. Share. Everybody, so I would like today to share my and my talk. It's about publications, pancakes, and the tiny switch of being a scientist mother. So I will not give you a pancake recipe, but I will give journey. First of all, so I am a scientist and adoring mother of 3 amazing children. So if I will start with my childhood, from age, I had aspiration of becoming a scientist. I was very curious girl who wanted to know not only how, but also why. So I was amazed by the stories of many scientists like Marie Curie, Einstein, Franklin, and but not following the usual order of things. First, I became a mother, and then I became a scientist. So my journey with science began with 3 children, and that's the story I would like to share it with you. So my role model was Marie Curie. Maybe because it was the first story I read about a woman and a mother and a scientist, and the one who won the Nobel Prize twice. So this is why I I chose or I dreamed to be a scientist, but I don't want to be or to study physics, but I loved biology, and I choose to study biological science. I got the bachelor in biological science in Jordan in 2002. And after that, and because of very limited opportunities in Jordan to continue with high study or to find a PhD program, so I just I have to choose between a job or to make a family or to follow my passion or to give up. Then I decided to have a job, and I worked as a diagnostic in diagnostic lab as a lab technician. It was not my passion or my dream, but I learned a lot of experience, and I learned new things in this job. And then I got married in 2003, and in 2008 I continue with my passion, but I never give up. I never forget my dream to become a scientist. I focus on my goal to find a suitable master program. So I actually, after I got married, I traveled to Germany with my husband in 2003. And then in the meantime, I decided to have children. So in 2004, I got the first. I have the first baby. In the 2006, the second kid. And in the meantime, actually, I learned. I learned German language, and also I look forward to my goals. So, and 6 years later, I applied to the master program, molecular bioscience, in the Heidelberg University, which is the #1 in Germany in biological science. When I applied to this master program, I applied under fear and pressure. When I submitted my application, my imposter syndrome was at its highest. I asked myself, why would they accept a mother with 2 small children to study molecular bioscience? Why would they want to take a woman with a gap in her scientific life of 6 years? And actually this 6-year gap was filled with intensive personal learning skills. I learned to be a good mother for 2 wonderful boys. I learned the German language. I engaged in the German society as a woman activist. And I kept myself up to date by reading a science book, and especially the books about molecular biology, and also some journal like Nature and Science. So I got accepted into this program, and it was a big family anniversary because the challenge had been huge, and my dream was coming true. The beginning was not as easy as I expect, and I had to work twice as much as my colleagues, especially with my lack of lab work experience. And also the major challenge is to find balance between being a mother and also working in science. And the main question was from my friends, my colleagues, everybody, how do you balance the work and child care? But for you, I will tell you at the end what I did. So during, for example, meetings, lab seminars, and so on, I looked at my colleagues and wondered, because most of them, or all of them, they were still without family, without kids. And I just thinking, what internal battles might they be fighting, which would make me feel less alone. So several questions came to my mind. Why did I always feel I could not compete? What was holding me back? So these questions are symptoms of imposter syndrome, and which actually was in this time, 2008, 2009, in the in the highest level. But I fight, and I learned a lot. I did a lot of practical courses in institution in the region, like ZMBH, like Center of Organismal Studies Heidelberg, which actually the science faculty, in the German Cancer Research Center, the KFZ, the IMBEL, in the medical faculty. I learned a lot, from the prokaryote to the human disease, everything regarding molecular biology. So the first lab experience, or the first big work experience research, was in the Eichmuller lab, which related to the immunology department, and the lab group was about GMP and T-cell therapy. And there I learned and I studied the microRNA in melanoma cells, which gave me the expertise until now in working in microRNA and epigenetic. So I defended my master's thesis actually with 3 kids, because I got my third daughter during my master's study. And my research also was published as a co-author with my supervisor, who encouraged me to look for a PhD position. And actually, to publish, so my master is distributed in these 3 papers, which was a very good sign for a young scientist and to continue to study a PhD. So my supervisor encouraged me to look for a PhD position. However, my friends and the other people beside me put a pressure of another kind on me, asking, why should you do that? You must choose between your children and the PhD, and you should focus on your children instead of your dreams. So, and I am a person who think out of the box. So I felt that my work and my passion for discovering the molecular world would positively influence my children and inspire them. And I would be the best role model I could be as a strong and passionate mother. And I would also show them that women can find a balance between both worlds, the family and career, or the family and science. And the other thing, the most important thing, they must be inspired by their supportive father as well. So after that, I could accepted in the DKFZ PhD program, and I started my PhD in hair lab in experimental oncosurgery, and also I established the microRNA research in hair lab. And I studied the microRNA behavior in pancreatic cancer, and I published there my first paper about the dexamethasone-induced inhibition of microRNA 132 via methylation, because in their previous work, they found that dexamethasone-induced cancer resistant to chemotherapy, and also enlarge the tumor in solid tumor. So, and we found there is a lot of epigenetics and molecular molecular interaction events happened during this medication. And also I collaborated very strongly with my colleagues in several microRNA research. And after that, so I continue. That's the most important thing. I graduated and I got my PhD from DKFZ, or the German Cancer Research Center, and also from the Medical Faculty of Heidelberg with a big celebration. And my kids, they were also beside me, and they were very proud. So that's really a very nice memory to me, and also for my children. So another thing I would actually, or I would like to add, that finding a PhD position for a mother with 3 children was not easy. Whenever I sent my CV, I received excellent feedback, and with a formal interview. I noticed when the interviewer asked me about my family situation, I immediately imagined the upcoming apology email. So it's this kind of email. We have chosen another candidate and wish you luck in your future scientific career. But at the end, I got a good PhD position, and I have this PhD, and I found a very supportive supervisor. The thing that we don't have to give up, and we must just try and try to follow our passion. So, and after that, I continue also with my postdoc. Unfortunately, I didn't find the good picture in the postdoc Berger lab. So in the toxicology and the chemotherapy, and also I worked with microRNA in breast cancer, pancreatic cancer, and I published with my professor a book chapter, a very important book chapter about epigenetic detecting gene expression alteration in pancreatic cancer. And after that, I moved to Heidelberg University Hospital as a project leader. And I'm leading actually 2 projects, and it was also a transform from cancer to diabetes. So, but as a molecular biologist, you can find yourself in any area that related to molecular biology. For me, okay, I learned a lot about diabetes because my previous knowledge was about cancer, and now I'm leading a project about combinatorial microRNA targeting for treatment metabolic disease. Here I am trying to find the microRNA signature in diabetic patient cohort and their role in diabetic complication, and to solve the puzzle why diabetic patient type 2 developing diabetic complication, and how we can detect that before this progression or before this development. And maybe so in the future we could find like a therapy using microRNA and RNA, and now we can see that we have now a vaccine with the RNA, which it's a very important evolution in the RNA and microRNA research. In my project, we also looking for circulating microRNA and how the microRNA traveled from the donor cell in our body, in the cytoplasm, to another neighboring cells. So and regulate another genetic or genetic reactions or function in liver, in lung, in heart, in kidney, in nerve. And we are trying to find how that's happened and how we also relate and monitor that. So I got my project. I presented my project in a big in the biggest diabetic conference in Europe, ESAD, and it was really a good and very important experience. And we found also a very nice collaboration with other group. And my talk was about small RNA-seq reveal specific circulating microRNA signature linked to the type 2 diabetes complications. And now I'm just preparing my manuscript to publish this data. The second project also is about epigenetic, and we are trying to model the epigenetic modification in diabetic complication with epigenome editing. And we try to answer the question, how are DNA methylation change associated with diabetic complication? And could we reverse the diabetic complication by monitoring DNA methylation? We found there's differences between between the healthy group and also diabetic group, and also diabetic with complication, which that means the DNA methylation is different in each group, and maybe we could try to reverse this methylation and to save the patient from developing diabetic complications like neuropathy, retinopathy, nephropathy, and so on. So I have also, as Professor Amal said, the social activities. First of all, I'm a mother and scientist, and I also woman activist. I established the Arabic Woman in Germany platform, and also I am a very active science communicator. I published a children's book about virus, and I'm now preparing the second book. Also, I am active in Fatabayano platform as a fact checker. And now, as you know, in pandemic, in COVID pandemic, there is a lot of misinformation. We try to fight this misinformation and to share the awareness for a good science. Also, I have blogs in Sydney. I shared actually my experience in master and in PhD. I have scientific blog also in Nokta Science Journal, and also at Al Jazeera. So I'm coming now to the most important thing, and I would like really to everybody see this talk to have a home message. So let's see that the major challenge for the mother in science and academia is how do you balance the work and child care? I will tell you now how to overcome such feeling and idea. First of all, join and create a support system. So women must support each other, and women scientists can band together in their pursuit of career in academia and science. And also I share that with my colleagues. There is a special place in heaven for women who support other women. Use helpful tools and resources, anything which help to save time, stay focused, and be balanced. Fail forward. Everybody doing mistake. It's the best acknowledgement are achieved after many rounds of trials and error. So jack of all trades. Sorry. Okay, that you can be scientist, mother, and also good cooker, athletes, writer. You can be really a good multitask woman. Stop apologizing. The stories are taking up airtime that should be used for making a logical, declarative statement, expressing opinion, and relying impression of what we want. If you are apologizing for your beliefs, your desires, your goals, your past, the fact that you are a mother, you must stop if you want to move forward. Celebrate the little victories. You deserve to celebrate your little victories. If you, for example, have a good experiment, good result, if you are doing something nice with your children, if you are, for example, win something, because as a woman we are facing many difficulties, and it's important to empower yourself. Impress yourself worth and impress your value. And women have changed the world of science while also raising children. Attend Women in Science workshop, both online and offline, like this, for example, because it will really support you and empower you, your passion and your work. So I will end in this to this slide. So I will just, sorry, where is, I think I don't want to be, okay. Okay, the women who have managed to be both mother and top professionals are superhuman, rich, or self-employed. That's for Anna Marie Slaughter. I love this quote, and I give it for each woman to try and to balance her career with family and to achieve her dream. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Dr. Alia. Thanks a lot for nice talk. And thanks for all you, Dr. Rana Dajani, Dr. Alia, Dr. Hasna, for these nice talks. You inspired us a lot, but you give very important messages. As example, at first, you have combined the message. At first, you began your PhD in different countries. You traveled to Germany, Dr. Rana traveled US, Dr. Hasna traveled to Paris. So that it's not, it's very negative message that our Arab countries are not ready to have PhD for students to begin PhD and to begin family together. Really, it's very hard to begin family and to get PhD here in our Arab countries. Also, you gave us good message that you have to choose at first the good partner to help you in the way, but you don't speak about the time management. Really, the new generations need someone to tell them about time management. At first, time management. Second, how to choose the goal, how to choose the way, how to identify that they become a scientist or not. Sometimes they begin the career and then they fail in the beginning as usual. Then they return it back. So that they need messages about all of that. I will begin with Professor Rana. Extra messages about time management, challenges you faced and how to overcome, how to make time management also between family and the work in labs. Also, how to define goals, how to decide to continue the way, even you, I'm sure you failed in the beginning. How to decide to continue the way, even you fail maybe one or two times, like any scientist. Also, how to define the partner of the way, as you said, how to define the partners. I was asked once how to define the partner. I told them it's normal, it's a qada Allah. So that I will leave the floor to you.
All right, thank you very much. It was really, really fascinating to listen to Professor Hasna and Dr. Alia sharing their stories and their journeys. And I think we're not unique. I think there are many, many, many women across the Arab world, across the world, who share our journeys and our story and our story, so that people don't see us as outliers, but that we are the norm. It's just that nobody talks about us. And media loves to be, to fascinate us with the extremes, and it paints a picture. Any questions you asked, but I'll just maybe highlight a few points on those questions. I think that every person's journey is unique. And one thing we need to keep in mind that we cannot control the circumstances around us. What we can control is how we respond to those circumstances, how we react. And so what is the advice on how to react? I think for me, one thing that I have done, and again, I speak of my own experience, and I hope that will shed some light, but people are different. To me, it's about taking a decision every morning that I'm going to be happy, regardless what happens to me, and not to let anything beat me down. And so that makes me more optimistic, that makes me more positive, and more constructive. And I look at the half cup full, not the half cup empty. Or as my husband says, I see an ocean in a drop of water. And so I think having that attitude and fostering that kind of resilience, again, I think the word of the year of 2020 is resilience. How can we draw on our resilience, which is actually a part of our evolution? That's how we survived as a species, trying to be positive. The other thing is we don't have to do everything at the same time. Each one of us is talking about a history of at least 2 decades, if not more, of what we've done. But for each section and period of our life, we were doing just one thing. So I was a school teacher for 10 years, right? And during that time, I was a school teacher and a mom, which is typical. A lot of people can relate. Then I did my PhD. And again, that was a phase. And then, for example, being a social entrepreneur, that's a whole phase that came after 40. So again, I think back to your question, it's about women trusting themselves and being firm on what their priorities are, because we know better what is good for now and what is good for later. And that's why even the young women and men who are hearing us, it doesn't mean you all have to be scientists and do your PhD and be a famous. It's about you finding what you want, right? Your passion. That could be you just want to stay at home, and that's fine. And it could be you want to be a scientist or a CEO, and that's fine too. So it's about finding that passion by exploring the world, right? Reading, exposing yourself. And then when you find it, trust your gut feeling, trust yourself, and then show that confidence to the people around you, your family, your husband, your kids, your sisters, your brothers. When they realize that you really want this and it makes you happy, usually in most cases, they will step aside and allow you to do it. Most times they step in because they see you're hesitant and they want to help you because they love you. Now, how to gain their confidence is by sharing. We don't communicate very well. We need to learn to talk about our feelings, talk about what we want, think about ourselves. It's not selfish, because it's like the oxygen in the airplane. You have to use your own oxygen to help before you can help others. So think about yourself, take care of yourself, trust yourself, and share this with your people around you, your family, and those who share your life. And they will support you eventually when they realize that that's what you want. And that leads to the partner question. It's about communication. It's about sharing. Yes, everything is qada Allah, but Allah said, khudh bil asbab. Khudh bil asbab, meaning you got to do your job, you do your homework, you ask the right questions, and you trust your gut feeling. And I think having those conversations, telling your partner, like, I have these dreams, and listening to him and hearing from him that he is ready to support your dreams and he considers you an equal partner. That's when you go forward. But if you don't hear that, you shouldn't go, because you will suffer later. So communication, trusting yourself, knowing your priorities. And as a society, I call on society to trust themselves, to trust, the members of their community, trust them, and support them in what they want and what they dream of. So yeah, I'll stop there and give the floor to someone else to pick it up.
Professor Hasna, the same questions, time management, how to determine how to make time management between your kids and lab. Especially, you have very difficult field of specialization, geology. and specifically planetary sciences. You know that I know you for the first time. I met you in 2017 in World Science Forum.
Yes.
One of my friends, Badr, told me that I will introduce to you to one of Moroccan friends, Professor Hasna Shinawi. She had a star with her
Is it?
name, Shinawi. I told him nobody has a star with his name. He told me that I will introduce you. Wait a minute. And then he introduced me to you. I found you on the earth, no stars. You are very humbled, you have very good science, and so on. So that from that time, I decided to invite you in 2019 to the people to see, to show the people how some women scientists can choose this very difficult field to be a scientist and very excellent in it. So that please make some messages about your time management and your field of expertise, how to stay in desert for a few days and then return back to family, and how to make NGO like Ataric and so on.
Oh, thank you so much, Amal. Okay, thank you. I, I don't have a star. It's an asteroid that have my name, but it's a small,
They told me that
very
you have a
small,
star.
very small asteroid. Okay, so thank you so much for the invitation and for the confidence. I'm very sensitive to, as Dr. Alia says, I'm very sensitive to the women, supporting women, because actually it's for me, it's important to support scientists in all over the world, and but especially in our Arab and Muslim world, I think that it's more important than in other countries. But this is very, very helpful for and what you are doing in the Women in Science Without Borders is really important. So to be back to your question, first, what I'm doing in Morocco is having PhD students defending their PhD in Morocco, even with some scholarships. But the most important part of the PhD is done in Morocco. So just to make the gap between you cannot do any science if you are not outside of our countries. This is not true. I'm showing that you can do it. Of course, like in any area, you have to have cooperation programs with other countries. It's with other labs, but with the respect of, we are working with collaborators in all over the world, not in the same, we are equal, we are working together. So this is very important, and it's something that that I follow. How to manage the time? It's not easy, because now, as I said, my children are growing, and my daughters are already working, and so I have more time, but it's working during the day, the evening, weekends, etc., because I have to manage the lab, the center of research, the PhD students, etc. And we love doing this. And as we love doing this, we do it with our heart. And so we do it on the best way we can do it. And I think that's the one thing that we are sharing together, is that we like doing things in the best way, and not just doing it, but it should be well done, because we are women and we have to be nicely seen by others, and all the society is looking to us more than for men and more. So we choose those way, and we have to be perfect. So even we are not, but we do our best to make a minimum of mistakes, etc. So it's difficult to manage the time, but when you have your children that are growing, you have more time, and very well I to do everything. I was young, and I had to travel a lot. I had a very nice support by my husband because he was taking care of the family, of the children, and I also had the privilege to have one lady that was helping at home, and so this is important. And to choose the good partner, this is something that I'm teaching to my PhD students, my men or women, and saying, so just choose the person that will respect you and you respect her. The most important word for me is the respect, because when my partner is respecting what I'm doing as a human, it's if you have this respect, you have 70% or 80% of the support, and this even it's qada Allah, of course, but I think that we can choose the good partner, because if we don't want to just blind things, that we don't want to see some things, if you open our eyes, we can see if there is a respect in the partner or not. And so I'm living with PhD students that got married, that have children, and I hope that I hope that they learned of how I'm living with my husband, and I think that's because I'm very, very, very close to my PhD students. So I think that's it. Lots of respect, well organizing, and supporting, and working a lot, because we don't actually. I don't agree with totally with Professor Rana. We of course we are doing what we have to do, but I think that it's we are all different from each other, and there are people that want to go to the limits, and they like facing challenges, and so this is man or woman, but I think that on this it's important to show our experiences as to inspire such Professor Amal is doing now. So that's it. Thank you so much.
Thanks. What about Dr. Alia? Dr. Alia has a critical situation because her children are still young. So in Germany, that's the question which I want to ask you. In Germany, it's very difficult to make time management between children and the work at labs, because they don't confess of children. I usually suffered a lot from them. No voices. No voice, Dr. Alia. Open the voice.
Yeah. Okay. Now, I think it's not a correct idea about that. So it's in Germany, when I started my master, there is a kita or a nursery for children, for scientists, for students, from 7 o'clock until 6 o'clock. So, and my children, they found really a good place. They also I like it because it's multiculti. So my children, they could learn from Chinese, from Japanese, from American, from African. So it was really a good culture for my children to have different people, not just German. So so I didn't find any difficulties to organize the time with my, for example, labs and with children. Also, my husband, he's a businessman. He is not a scientist, and he is flexible, so he can also work from home. And actually, he took care of my children during my difficult times, especially when I wrote my thesis in master or in a PhD. Also, when I traveled to conferences, my children stayed with my husband. So this is the point here in Germany. I think it's not a big problem because it's developed. Maybe previously was a problem because the kita and the schools were closed until I think 2 o'clock or 3 o'clock, as I heard from my colleagues. But now, no, most of them, they have.
Now it's heaven. Now it's heaven.
Yes.
Now it's heaven in Germany. Now it's heaven in Germany. Because I suffered a lot from 20 years when I was PhD student.
Ah, yeah, so
in Germany. I
we
had
are lucky.
kindergarten
I mean,
and so on, but the professor himself wanted me to stay longer at lab. Usually when I became at lab till 4 only p.m. and then I wanted to go home, they said, or the colleague said, it's too early. 4
yes,
o'clock
yes,
or 5 o'clock is
yes.
quite
That previously, but
yeah.
now
Maybe
I
now
think
it's
the
better.
woman. Yeah,
Now,
the woman in science and also woman, especially the activist woman, they did a lot for that. I remember one professor, she told me that they fight it for us.
they
For
fought
example,
really because they
yes,
usually, the professors, the women professors, wouldn't like to marry, as example, because they have no
yes, they
chance.
choose the career.
Yeah, they choose the career so that it's a
Yes,
privilege now that
yeah,
they have advantage of having more kindergarten and also the kindergartens not like now, not so much like now. You have to have special kindergarten to stay to till 5 and so on. So that it's
it's
nice
actually,
to hear about.
yeah, maybe previously was a special kindergarten or private kindergarten, but now a government kindergarten is for the university. So in the Heidelberg University, we have 3 kindergarten for children. So 3 kindergarten from zero age to 6 years.
So that's nice, nice.
Yes,
But I have more questions.
yes,
But the most important question is cooperation between
yeah,
scientists and the women scientists themselves. Because when I began working with women in science case and so on, I found that several countries like Egypt, as example, we have very nice laws, we have very nice things, we have same salaries and so on, and we still have women in science expression. I think from my point of view, I thought that it's a matter of women in science themselves. They don't want to make like we are talking now. They don't make some kind of networks, professional networks
hmm,
in projects and so on. They also they always want to work with male partners more than female partners. Sometimes they prefer not to make professional networks, successful networks. Um, I have one example. I met Rana in 2014 in Sudan, and it was nice meeting. And from this time, we invited each other maybe several times. We always talk to each other and so on. But it's not the case. It's not the normal case. I usually see that no extended friendship between women scientists. You understand me? No extended projects or extended collaborations and so on. Maybe they are afraid, and the women scientists usually choose male partners more than the female partners. Not in all cases, but in several cases, they don't support each other. If you want a recommendation letter, you will usually think about the male partner, the male professor. You see the male professor much better than the female professors. I see this It's not a hypothesis, it's fact.
It's fact, yes. So I personally, I faced a lot of problem with my professor. So I don't want to say on air. So with my supervisor, PhD, yeah, and I can imagine your point, because I have really a good collaborating work with my professor now. He's a male professor. Fleming, and we are doing a great work. And if when I have an idea, he supported me. But in the other, for example, lab, I feel maybe it's some kind of competition. So she want to be just the woman.
Lack of confidence.
Empower. I don't know.
I think it's
don't
lack of
know.
confidence. Lack of confidence, really, because they don't trust in themselves. You understand me?
Yes,
Because
but I will not
all
do.
my
But I will not
problems
do the same. I will not do the same
will
because
not do the same.
Yes, I have a student, a master student. She's very smart, and I'm trying to support her and to give her all my experience to
Right.
succeed. Yeah. That's so. I don't want to repeat my supervisor mistakes. Yes.
You know that all my problems in Germany from 20 years came from female supervisor. I transferred it to the other male supervisor.
But now the female are more kind than previously.
Okay, I will transfer to Dr. Anna because it's the same case. Usually we are discussing about what about cooperation between females and networks and so on, especially that you made the 3 cycles of Alimat. And I had the privilege to be one of its members in Jordan, if you remember, maybe 2014, I think.
Absolutely.
Yeah, 2014. Yes. It was
so this is a very important issue that you brought up, and I think it's universal. It's not specific to regions or cultures. And well, first of all, to study these kind of relationships and these trends requires social scientists who study the relationships. And that's why we need more social scientists, not just the basic scientists, to study this. And we don't have from our region, right? There are those who are from the West who study these trends and try to understand them. But I'm sure the culture may play a role. And so this is a shout out, a call for people to do social science in our own country. So that's number one. But my attempt at trying to understand this from experience and observation as a scientist is that I think universally there's a huge pressure on who becomes a senior scientist. And this pressure kind of selects for a certain kind of personality of a woman, which is more like a man in terms of, of macho dominating and so on. So that doesn't mean all women are that way. It's just that there's been a selection for that kind of woman. Now, the more women are becoming senior positions, you're getting a better representation of women in general. And so you're having less of the stereotype of these domineering women. Now, how to change that stereotype and to help people be generous and help people be confident is to share stories, right? To talk about this. And so people have the courage to help each other and have the courage to go beyond and say, I don't want to be, put in a box. So again, this is why this kind of meeting is important. Women in Science Without Borders and all the activities that you're doing are very, very important. Lastly, I'm going to comment about the mentoring program that we have. It's online. I put it in the chat for those who want to go. And this helps women find mentors amongst themselves within their organization where they take control of this. So it's a very easygoing, loose kind of program. And when you have other women in mid-career, so the focus of this program is targeting mid-career. Most mentoring programs are for graduate students. And very few, if not even almost non-existent, are those that cater to scientists, women in their mid-career. And so this kind of program helps us find partners, women, who can mentor us, not just professionally, but personally. Somebody you can test an idea on, somebody who can give you confidence and courage and tell you you're not alone. And I think those are very important. And the tips on how to negotiate, how to talk, how to trust yourself. are very important. So I urge you to go to that website, check it out, download the toolkit, start it in your own organization. It has no hierarchy. It's very loose. It's very horizontal. And to help others, like Alia said, if you did not find people to help you, you be that person, you be the change, right? You reach out and help your other students, and eventually, change takes time. It will happen. It's just that we have to be patient and we have to think long term. In our part of the world, we always want things very fast, but we need to be patient, and things will happen if we keep on. It's being persistent. We all know, success is 1% genius and 99% persistence. And if we fail, that was a question you had asked, it's okay. That's part of the journey. And it's about considering it not failure. It's about thinking of it as an opportunity to learn. And I tell my students, it's okay to fail. That's how we are. I mean, trial and error. It's just that try not to make the same mistake, make a new mistake. So you can keep on going and learn going forward.
You know that it's rare to find a meeting like this meeting, collecting several successful women together, because it's, I heard one, it's like the concept of the bride. They told themselves that how to invite others to cover me, you understand? تغطيني أو تغطي علي بالعربي. It's not true. It's not true.
Yes,
I heard you told me one word. You understand?
Yeah, we know when you succeed
in Malta, when we meet in Malta, you told me that it's better to be powerful together, or the powerful not be powerful. Also, if we grow together, it's better.
Exactly. When you win, I win. And that's how we all win together. We don't win alone.
Yes.
That doesn't work. It doesn't work in science. It doesn't work in humanity. We're social creatures.
The powerful ones will know each other. You understand? If you are very distinguished, you will know the distinguished ones, and we will all together appear. You understand? You needn't to cover me, or I will cover you. Each one of us has its own identity or own character. But I heard from people, it's a reality that it's not true to invite much better scientists than you, or to invite other women or something like that. It's very bad. How to see the men, really, the males could construct very good and successful networks, not like women. And then we said that always there is discrimination. No discrimination, it's our fault. We don't ask for our rights, for our normal rights. You understand? We have to empower ourselves. We have to support ourselves. Then we will ask for this.
And it's changing the environment, right? The ecosystem, to allow this to happen, to allow it to flourish, and to accept each other for who they are. But I think it also comes from a position of lack of confidence. I mean, you just said the example. Every time there's an opportunity, I invite scientists I know who are women. And it's about you, it's about who you know. So it's always Amal or Alia. And now I know Hasna. So Hasna, be careful, you're going to be invited. and
no
so
networks. I told you that no networks. We have no networks. It's very hard to find the address of women scientists in any field. Usually, if you will open the internet, you will find males, always males, especially in the Arab world. Okay?
Yes.
I have one word that Angela Merkel was supported by Helmut Kohl. Usually, the great women always supported by males, not dominated by females. It's very strange.
But I think Angela Merkel supporting now another woman.
Another woman. That's what you said. That maybe the generation will be enhanced by time.
Yes, because maybe Ingrid Kilbert, she will come, I think, after Angela Merkel. We don't know. That's maybe.
So that the generations are enhanced. So that what about Professor Hasna, about cooperation and...
So what I wanted to say, you are covering different topics now. We are discussing very, very different topics. And to build a network, you have to have someone to do so. And what you are doing, Amal, Dr. Amal, here is fundamental, because it's important to have those ideas, but you have to have someone that will take time and spend time to do this work. And it's not easy. So this, if we want to talk about a science network, but when you go further, you see that it depends on the specialty. I would say on my specialty, it's not a matter of women or men. We are a very small group of people. And in Arab countries, it's what I'm doing now, and building a group of people that will become experts. And it's important for us to be on a network. Otherwise, it will not work. And in the network, it's important to have all good researchers, not women or men, good researchers. And I would just say that I have more PhD students female than men. And one time I was asked by people, why are you just having women? I didn't choose, but it's like this. And I have absolutely no problem with my PhD. Contrary, I'm very supportive, and as I said, they all became girls and boys. They all became a part of our family. So I think that's one is to have someone to spend time on this. To dependent on the if we want to have networks, we have to have a minimum of people on the same, not probably not exactly the same field, but similar fields. I guess in biology, or if you take biology or physics, or you can have a great number of people, but if you go further, so it's not very easy. And so just having a way on how to put all those people together, all those women together, and to make them shining all together in our countries and outside of our countries, because all of us are ambassadors of our countries, our region, our religion. So how to make this group of researchers, women researchers, shining and hearable by in all over the world. And that's why I'm very supportive of what you are doing, Amal, in what you are building now, because it's something that should be built. And I would say that women that are not supportive, in my opinion, it's a very personal opinion, they are not researcher, because the hurt and the most important thing in research is to share, is to accompany people, and so if you have people that are not supportive, if you have women that are not supportive, that means that they have no self-confidence, and they are not good researchers. Because when you are not good enough, you don't trust on what you are doing, and so you are just scaring, I'm here because something, and if someone else is coming, he or she will take my place. If you trust on you have confidence, if you trust on your abilities and what you are yourself, you don't have to be afraid about your position. So those people, I would say, men or women or women, in my opinion, are not good researchers. Because if you look around you, in all the labs in all over the world, you see that successful researchers are those that are sharing and not waiting for anything coming back. It's a matter of generosity of science, and this is science, in my opinion.
Thank you. We have 5 minutes left. I will give you only 1 minute for each one of you to give us brief message. Only one message. 1 minute. Rana, 1 minute.
Well, all right. My message is believe in yourself, trust yourself, dream big. You know, nothing's impossible. And be the butterfly, you know, and it's not about making a big splash, it's about starting small, and eventually there will be an impact in time and space beyond what you know. And again, it's about you being satisfied. It's not about changing the world. Just start with changing yourself. Be the change maker and read, read, read.
Thanks, Alia. Dr. Alia. Alia. Dr. Alia.
Yes.
1 minute.
Yeah, 1 minute. First of all, be well organized, and collaborating is the key for successful. And give yourself time, like butterfly. Started as a worm and then be a nice butterfly. Give yourself time.
Fly. Yeah. Dr. Hasna, 1 minute.
Yeah, follow your passion, trust on your ability, and work hard. Work hard, work hard, and choose the good partner on all what you are doing. And thank you so much.
Stay with me to take pictures, but I will say bye-bye for the audience. Finally, I would like to thank esteemed guests for their fantastic, valuable contribution and inspiring stories, and all attendees for their participation. And I wish you all good luck, nice weekend, nice holidays, and to meet you again in other events in the new year. I hope the new year will hold big and good news for us. Okay, goodbye, bye-bye for everyone. Please stay with me for pictures. Smile. Yeah, okay. Thank you all. I wish you all the best wishes. Bye-bye. Happy New Year for all of you. I want to meet you again. Maybe we can meet you again, inshallah, in the near future. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much, Dr. Amal. Thank you to all the speakers. It was very inspiring. Thank you so much. This is a very nice moment.
Thank you.
Very nice meeting you.
I learned a lot from you. So I am junior, but I learned a lot always from you, Professor Rana, and also nice to meet you, Professor Hasna. Good work.
Thanks. Thanks, Rana. Thanks, Hasna.
Thank you, Amal and Hasna and Alia. Inshallah, we'll stay in touch. We need to do something together.
Yes.
Yes.
Definitely. Definitely. Yeah, yeah, definitely. It was nice to meet all of you. Thank you so much.
Nice weekend.
Bye.
Bye.